Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So before reading from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as Chaitanya Prabhu said just before, this is Song of God. This is the only book in existence, I mean, at least on this planet Earth, where the Supreme, someone claiming to be the Supreme Lord is speaking, giving knowledge to another. I mean, there's a lot of crazy people who can state all kinds of things, but they're generally walking around with a hand in here and they close them up in certain places or whatever. But if you hear them, they cannot say anything deep and meaningful. But this book is very, very philosophical. So this is Krishna speaking to his very dear friend and devotee Arjuna on a battlefield in Kurukshetra in northern part of India. So before reading one of these verses, I'll just say a few words leading up to this. And I better put this so I don't forget the time too much. So foundation is very, very important in life. Everything needs a foundation. Like if you want to build a huge building, wonderful skyscraper with all kind of amenities and luxury apartments, whatever, you have to have a strong foundation. Because if you don't have a strong foundation, everything gets ruined. Kind of like what they do now with the Aalborg Supersygehus. They build it and spend, I don't know, millions on it, and it's crap. Whatever. You know, you want to build a family, a good, strong family, loving you need to have a good foundation. The husband, the wife, they need to be compatible, they need to whatever, be well functioning, they can build a healthy family. You want to build a company, huge company, whatever, you need the foundation. Whatever you do in life, you need a strong foundation. Otherwise, whatever you build on top, it may come crashing down. So it's not like Niels Bohr or someone who is very good at quantum mechanics? Quantum theory, whatever, you know, high educational thing. They need the basics first before they can go to the postgraduate study. So that's very important in life. So in order to gain whatever we want in life, we need a strong foundation. And what does everyone want? Everyone wants genuine love, they want pleasure, they want security, they want a loving relationship with other people. But how can they get that if they do not have the proper foundation? And my claim is that most people in this world, they do not have that foundation because they don't know who they are. Like if we want to satisfy ourselves, we have to know what is it we are trying to satisfy. But most people in this world, they think they are something they are actually not. They think they are this physical body, this lump here, flesh, bone, marrow, brain, all the stuff that's in here, kind of gooey. It's not very nice, but it's covered by skin, so then it's kind of may look very nice. So yeah, it's 5 basic ingredients: earth, water, fire, air, and ether or space. We need space. We're sitting here in space. The planet is floating in space, whatever. So these are called Mahabhutas, the 5 gross elements, even though some of them are subtle, like fire, air. It's kind of fine, but it is still called a gross element. So people think they're the body. I'm me, I'm Claus Olesen, I'm born in Aalborg, and I'm whatever teacher and cricket player. We have all these designations: man, woman, fat, thin, intelligent, smart, dumb, whatever, and whatever we like. I'm professor, my job, I'm a plumber. So we have all these designations. These are me. In Sanskrit they're called upadhis. They're called false designations, because the real self, the real person in the body is the spirit soul, pure spirit. But there's a potency that makes that pure spirit soul, and spirit is completely different from matter. All this, again, This is completely foreign to the soul. Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, aprameya itastvanyam. There's a higher nature than this Mahabhuta. He has just explained about the lower nature, this material world, and the 5 gross elements and the subtle elements, like mind, intelligence. We all got mind and intelligence in here, filled with thoughts and emotions, whatever. We can't see it, but it's there. We all got intelligence. Even the ants got intelligence. It knows exactly how to go there and whatever. All living entities have intelligence in different forms. And then there's a third, these are subtle matter. It's still matter, but subtle. Like the mind, again, we can't see or touch it, but we know it's there, and it's material. And then there's a third subtle energy called ahankara. Ahankara means false designation. It's a very subtle energy, even more subtle than mind and intelligence, and it's a potency, material potency, that make the pure spirit soul identify with matter. It's very strong, right? We may have theoretical knowledge, but I'm not this physical body, but it's kind of hard to transcend it, to step above it. And this potency is there because we, the pure spirit soul inside this body, wants to be in this material world. We want to be here because, even though it sounds strange, because the spiritual world is filled with a loving relationship. There's no suffering, no boredom, whatever. And everything is new and fresh every single day. And you can have a personal relationship with the origin of everything, which is God. And one name for God is Krishna, the all-attractive. He's so attractive, he's so beautiful, that everyone is completely attracted to him. Anyone, whether they have a male body or female body. If Krishna walked in here, knocked on the door, oh, have you stopped chanting? I liked more kirtan. And Krishna would be there, we would all be like, eyes would, see these cartoons for the kids, sometimes these characters, the eyes goes out there, right? And ears or whatever. We would more or less be like that, because Krishna's beauty is unearthly. I mean, we can try to paint him, you're around here, but his beauty is like, and it's not like a physical beauty just like that. His effulgence, his whole being is just like, whoosh, the heart will just melt, and it will just hairs stand on the body. That's the beauty of Krishna and his pure devotees. So if we want, Krishna, then we have to rise above the bodily platform. So we have to build that foundation. And that the knowledge of that is given in the Bhagavad Gita. And so I'll read one verse. It's from the 2nd chapter called Contents of the Gita Summarized. Text 18. And this is Sanskrit, the book, the Vedas, the Vedic literatures, is ancient body of knowledge which is vast. It's written in Sanskrit. And it goes like this. Antavanta ime deha nitya shokta sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yujasva bharataha. And the translation goes like this. Only the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is subject to destruction. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharat. So this is, as Chaitanya alluded to just before, this is taking place on the battlefield 5,000 years ago in India. And 2 sides of the same dynasty had to fight with each other. And Krishna and Arjuna and his brothers, there were 5 brothers called the Pandavas, 5 brothers. They were fighting on the side of righteousness, on Dharma. They wanted to re-establish religious principles in the world. So they were fighting against another side of the family that wanted to destroy religious principles. So they had to fight. He had to fight his best friends, even his family. So Arjuna became very perplexed. I said, Krishna, I have to, just before the battle took place, both armies were there, facing each other. And just before this huge carnage, killing spree would take place, Arjuna, he asked Krishna, please drive my chariot up there in front so I can see my enemies, which are all my, many of them friends and family. And he had to fight his uncle and teacher and And he had so much love for them, but he had to fight them. So he was there, and then he was speaking different words. He got bewildered. And then when he was bewildered, he asked Krishna to become his guru, to teach him. He said, Krishna, I'm bewildered now, please instruct me. What should I do? You know, I have to kill my friends and family, but I really don't want to do it. So Krishna started instructing him about all this knowledge. So that's what he said here. First he explained a particular level of knowledge called Atma Tattva. Atma means self, the spirit soul, and Tattva means truth or category. The category of knowledge pertaining to what is the spirit soul. So he started to explain that to Arjuna. First he said, Dehinusmin yata dehi kaumaram yavanam jara. He stated that the spirit soul wanders in this particular body from boyhood to youth to old age. So like we progress in this body, right? We are, most of us in here adults, a few of us are older. And if we have the family album, back in time when things were not digital, we had an old family album, which show our guests. And then we had little whatever, that was me as a baby, you know, choppy and whatever. And then it was me as a young boy or girl running around with my friends having a good time. And that's me during my graduation, I was studying, and that's me as middle age, and now I'm an old man or whatever. All these different me's were all different bodies. Like the baby body is gone. Like, where's the baby body now? It's not there, it's a full-grown man. And that youthful, you know, running around or playing cricket or studying, whatever, he's also not there now. But it's there in the family album. We knew at that time that was me, but that body is fully gone. But we know that was me, you know, in that body. So reincarnation takes place even in this body. It's not a matter of believing. We can actually see it by, you know, a little intelligence. So that pure spirit soul is indestructible because Krishna told Arjuna, you don't have to worry about the body. And you don't have to worry about the body of your uncle and all those on the other side because they are not killed even though you send an arrow through their heart. Arjuna was an expert bowman. He could send so many arrows, like you wouldn't be able to see his hand move. They had like supernatural potencies in those days. They could, one special warrior called a Maharati, he could fight with 1,000 men at one time. We can't imagine that, but it's possible. And even there's one Dane called some Lars something, he's an expert bowman. He can like really good, and he can shoot all kinds of objects in the sky. Even an arrow, someone shoots an arrow, and he can pierce it in the middle. He's so expert. So that's possible even now. In past times, they were much more expert. So Arjuna had to kill all these people, and he didn't want to do it. And Krishna started instructing him: you do not kill them. They do not die when they fall on the battlefield. The soul is living still. And the warrior who dies on the battlefield, he'll attain heavenly planets, because that's his dharma. So that's why they were also so courageous in those times. They knew they would go to higher planets if they had, you know, worked as a kshatriya, as a warrior. So they weren't afraid of death. So Krishna tells Arjuna, you cannot kill them, so don't despair. And that's a part of it. So he says, only in the material body of the soul, which is indestructible, immeasurable, you can't measure it, and the eternal living entity is subject to destruction, therefore fight. Krishna wanted him to fight. So he is giving the knowledge of the spirit soul. I'll just read a little of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Srila Prabhupada is elaborating on what we just heard, and it goes like this: the material body is perishable by nature. It may perish immediately, or it may do so after 100 years. It is a question of time only. There is no chance of maintaining it indefinitely. But the spirit soul is so minute that it cannot even be seen by an enemy, to say nothing of being killed. There's more to go. So he's like, the spirit soul is immeasurable. It's so small you can't measure it. And it's stated in another part of the Vedas called the Upanishads. There's a scripture called the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, one of the most important of the 108 Upanishads. It states the size of the soul, how minute, how small it is. And it states in Sanskrit, Balagra Shada Bhagasya. How is it now? I forget. Shadada Kalpitasya Cha Bhagyo Jiva Savigyeya Sa Chanantaya Kalpate. I have to have a little help here. It states that if you take a hair, we all got hairs on our head, you take one hair and the tip of the hair, very, very small, you take that hair and you split it into 100 parts. Anyone in here who can do that, you think? Take up the challenge? No, we can't do it. Even the scientists won't be able to split that hair, the tip of the hair, in 100 parts. It's impossible. And then you take one of those 100th parts and split that into another 100 parts. That's compared to the size of the soul. So it's smaller than atomic. Nobody can see the atoms. Nobody's seen the atoms. They can see like the way they say there's an atom is something like they have this chamber where they fill it with some gases or whatever and shoot something and they see like that trail and they call what's gone through that thing as an atom. But they can't see the atom. And the soul is even smaller. So like Prabhupada stated here, you can't kill the soul because you can't see it. No arrow can kill it. You can't kill the soul by weapons. You can't drown it. You can't burn it. You can moisten it by the wind, send in heavy winds. You cannot kill the soul. It's impossible. So the soul is eternal by nature. It's only going through different bodies according to karma, according to how we lived our previous life. We are eternal. It's just this experience now we have of whatever we call ourselves, Bhavik and Chaitanya and Balaram and whatever. This is temporary. We have lived. We never not lived, but we can't remember it. It's like every night we sleep, we forget our daily life. We can't remember what we slept. Most cannot remember what we dreamt yesterday. Definitely not 1 week ago. What to speak of a month? We can, but we slept at that time. We dreamt something we can't remember. So remembrance is not a proof that we haven't existed before. The soul is eternal. We simply, and it will be eternal, going around in this material world through different bodies. It can also be animal bodies, even in insect bodies, or it can be higher bodies on the heavenly planets. This is all depending upon karma, upon how we live our life. That's why it is very important we get knowledge. Because if we don't have knowledge, we do not know how we should act to get higher bodies or even maintain the human body. Because we can go down in lower bodies, and that's the greatest tragedy. Because in the human form of life, we have high intelligence. We can choose how we want to live. The animal cannot choose how it wants to live. Whatever little bug that may crawl here can only act as that bug. Whatever cat strolls around out here, the cat cannot, question its existence. It can only act as a cat. But we can choose how we want to act. We can live like animals if we want to. Just eat, sleep, have sex with whatever moves or whatever. Some people are like that. And some people are just like pigs. They just stuff themselves and they're huge and big. The whole consciousness is more or less like a pig. They don't discriminate. They eat all kinds of stuff. So if they have like a consciousness of a pig or like a dog, just the dog, what does that do? That jumps on anything on the street, sheepdog, it can do that. But if a human being is like kind of doing the similar thing, they don't have the proper body for it. So they can take a body that's suitable. So if a human being is like just stuffing everything in all the time, maybe he might get a pig's body in the next lifetime. Or if they're very evil, doing horrible things. So many people in this world are doing horrible things, and it's coming more and more up. I'm not even going to speak about it. Terrible, terrible things that are going on. They will have hellish bodies. Because if you inflict pain on another people, and you do it a lot, you'll have a very bad body. And you may be born next time deformed. It's not by accident. Someone is being born, they say, with a silver spoon in the mouth, right? They have a good body, strong, they look good, they're intelligent, they're born in a wealthy family or whatever. Another person is born like crippled and very ugly or whatever. This is all according to karma. So we need knowledge. We need to have a foundation of knowledge. And that's what the Shastras, the Vedic literatures are giving, the Bhagavad Gita and other books. So it's very, very important that we gain this knowledge and act according to it to some extent. Now, of course, not everyone wants to look like Chaitanya and myself, like Tilak and Dodi or whatever. But you don't need to do that to practice this culture and philosophy. You can have your normal job, look normal, as they do in this world, right? And you can practice it at home. We are just kind of going full on it, but like any tradition, you have the monks living in the monastery, but the majority of Christians, they're living normal lives out in society. A few nuns and monks, they're living secluded, really practicing love of the Supreme Lord. So this is what the Bhagavad Gita and this culture is about. It's about knowledge. Atma Tattva is just one part of it. There's so much more knowledge about the spiritual existence. What's going on in the spiritual world? How does it look? How are the bodies looking of those liberated spiritual souls who are enjoying love with Krishna? They're very, very beautiful. Stated that Krishna's associates, both his boyfriends and his girlfriends, they have lotus eye-like. Their eyes are very big and going we haven't seen in this world. Very, very beautiful. Sometimes you see people with very huge eyes and got these kind of doll-like eyes. It's very attractive. Attractive features. We're attractive to beauty. Beautiful woman walks in here, the men are kind of having to restrain themselves to not kind of, look. That's the nature of beauty, right? A very handsome man who's just whatever, he's got all these male qualities, he's very handsome, he's very strong, and he's got special qualities. The women are naturally attracted. And if some small child is going in, a lot of people are all the consciousness of the child, because we love this innocence, beautiful, innocent child, right? So we're attracted to beauty. So the Bhagavad Gita is about how we can attain the highest love. So we need knowledge to do it. It's not sentimental. Real love is like the diamond, we have to pay the price. We may not be able to pay the full price, but at least we should kind of save, to get that diamond. Because nothing else will fulfill our deepest hankerings. Because our deepest hankerings, the soul is by nature Satchit Ananda. It's eternal, it's full of knowledge, and it's full of Ananda, of transcendental ecstasy. That's what we want. But we will never get that ecstasy by going to the movies or even have friends over and eating nice food or whatever. It's giving some pleasure, sensation to the tongue, the ears, our senses, but it won't satisfy us deeply. And even if we get some material pleasure, sometimes because of karma, we get a day out with a family or friends and everything is just going like that, wow. It's really rock and roll, let's go, and everything is great. Maybe, they also had a little thing to pep it up, whatever, artificial means, drink a little bit. But even though you have a great day and everything is going great, and you're Indian, India beat Pakistan in cricket, and you have all the family over, and it's just an amazing day. Denmark win, the EU 1992, everyone was in the street, and they were just crazy. I couldn't understand what was going on. We were distributing books about these books, and on that day in 92, and so everyone was going around, they were crazy. We won the European Cup, right? So whatever your best day, whatever pleasure and good memories you have, that's nothing compared to the pleasure you have on the spiritual platform. And it's unending, it doesn't stop. Any material pleasure is kind of, after some time, gets kind of, you need variation, you need something new. That beautiful woman, one day she's just not that kind of attractive as she was in the beginning, or whatever. But on the spiritual platform, it's ever fresh. It's never bored, it's ever fresh. And the loving relationship exchanges are fresh and new every single day. So this is what we aspire for. And this is what we urge everyone to do, to please study the Bhagavad Gita, please chant the Maha Mantra, which is scrubbing the heart and the consciousness. Every single mantra is purifying you a little bit more. So whatever you chant Hare Krishna, you chant Ram, whatever your favorite form of the Supreme Lord is, the Supreme Lord has many forms. That's whatever, that's perfection. So that's what we urge you. We also invite you back here for whatever programs we have, and maybe in the future we'll come more to Aalborg. That's one of our desires, but we are very few here. We're only 3 devotees living regularly at this particular point, so we can't do as much as we like to do, but we do our best. So we want to create a little community here with a farm over there, more people moving in and developing very nicely. We call it, our saying is simple living, high thinking. We live very simply. We live off the earth. We don't have all kinds of fancy stuff. We have what we need, basic needs. But high thinking, we engage in this every day, the philosophy and the chanting and connecting with Krishna through the mantra and all other devotional activities also we do. So please come and take advantage of it. We're here for you, serving you, and please come for the big festivals, Janmashtami, Radhashtami we'll have at a later time, and engage in this culture of love with other like-minded. So you can more and more taste that taste we are always hankering from since time immemorial, and that's in the spiritual world between us and the Supreme Lord. Thank you very much for your attention. Maybe there's a question or comment. Everything is clear, no doubts. Everyone accepts what I said. Yes, this is so.
It's just a question right now on my mind is, when did Denmark win in cricket?
Never. At least not on that level. They're not there. They're kindergarten. So.
Once you mentioned about like soul decided to come back when it was on higher planet, like
yeah.
Can you specify that a little bit, because at that time you did not specify much.
The soul goes from higher planets.
Yeah, like why did we come back here? Like then you said that we decided to come back at that time.
I'm not sure what you mean. You can go from heavenly planets.
No, from
this earthly planet. You can go from the.
Let's say from Golok
Vrindavan.
Yeah, like
that's the big question. The fall of the jiva. How did we, the pure spirit soul, fall from the spiritual sky? Because everything is wonderful there. Why did we choose to go here? Now, Chaitanya is smiling because this is a very controversial subject. And there's actually some different opinions. The classical, the original thing you will hear in most Hare Krishna temples and societies is that the jiva, we came from Krishna's Leela, or some of the forms of Krishna, Narayan or Ramchandra, the Supreme Lord's Leela, and we came to this material world because we desired or we become envious of Krishna. It's also stated, like, why is Krishna the only enjoyer? Because in the spiritual world, Krishna is the enjoyer. Everyone is serving Krishna. Everyone is loving Krishna. And we know jealousy sometimes. If the guy comes into the disco or whatever, all the girls are just interested in him. The other guys are kind of like, jealous, right? Envious. Why only him? Why not me? I'm also looking good and strong, whatever. So it stated like there was some envy there. Why is only Krishna enjoying? I also want to enjoy. But in the spiritual world, there's only Krishna who's the center of everything. And if you have a desire to the spirit soul to enjoy separately from Krishna, I want to be like Krishna, then you have to go to the material world. So that's what you hear. But there's also another parts of the also Gaudiya line who said that the spirit soul was actually never with Krishna in Leela. It fell from something called Tatashta Shakti. It fell from that effulgence of the Supreme Lord, which is filled with spirit souls, innumerable spirit souls in that effulgence, Brahmajyoti. So at that point, the spirit soul had a choice to go to Krishna Leela or to go to the material world. Many Gaudiya Vaishnavas are saying that also. So it's a controversial subject. I'm reading one very, very interesting book about it. I have my own opinion. I'm not going to state it here. But that's the official thing you hear from. One of these two are the kind of major explanations. But whatever the reason is, we have to go to that place. We're all agreeing on that. If you're in a burning house, it doesn't matter, how did the fire... If you're in a burning house, you don't start a discussion. How did that fire start? There's fire all around you. Oh, it might have been like that or whatever. No, you get the hell out of there. That's the important thing. So we have to get the hell out of this place and go to the spiritual existence. It's not, in one sense, so important how we got here. In another sense, it's very important that we want to know, right? But most important is get there. So it's a very controversial subject. You can discuss that with devotees and for many, many hours. Any other questions, comments? So thank you very much for your attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.